James Bond has survived explosions, assassins, and villains with world-ending schemes. But can he survive Amazon? Yeah, that's right. The company that delivers toilet paper in 2 hours now owns the most famous spy in cinema history. Fans are nervous. Corporate interference? Streaming experiments? But hey, Bond has been through worse. After all, this is a franchise that's lasted over 60 years, spanned multiple actors, and even had 2 rogue Bond films that weren't even part of the official series. So, what makes James Bond one of the most iconic, enduring franchises in cinema history? Let's talk about it. James Bond isn't just a movie character, he's a brand, a legend, and a blueprint for action films. Before Bond, spy movies were mostly grounded, slow-paced thrillers. But Dr. No back in 1962 changed all that. Suddenly, espionage was stylish, fast, and packed with action. Gadgets? Check. Exotic locations? Check. A smooth-talking agent who could win a poker game, escape a deadly trap, and deliver a killer one-liner, all before finishing his martini? Check, check, and check. It was the start of something huge. Audiences had never seen anything like it, and Hollywood took notes. From that moment on, the spy genre had a new standard. Bond films have shaped pop culture in ways we don't even realize. The phrase, shaken, not stirred, is more famous than any cocktail recipe in history. The silhouette of a man holding a Walther PPK with a tuxedo? Instantly recognizable. Even the Bond villain set the standard for what a great movie villain should be. Larger-than-life figures like Blofeld, Goldfinger, and Silva have been parodied and imitated for decades. And let's not forget the theme songs. From Goldfinger to Skyfall, Bond has delivered some of the most iconic title tracks in cinema history. Even artists like Paul McCartney, Madonna, and Adele have all jumped at the chance to leave their mark on 007's world. And Bond isn't just about style, it's also about influence. Would we have Mission Impossible or John Wick without Bond? Maybe, but they wouldn't be the same. The Bourne movies took Bond's serious edge and ran with it. Even Batman's portrayal in The Dark Knight owes a lot to Bond, with its globe-trotting espionage feel and suave, playboy double life. And just look at how many films have tried to capture that same mix of danger and elegance. Whether it's Kingsman playing up the over-the-top gadgetry, or The Man from U.N.C.L.E. leaning into the old-school charm, Bond's fingerprints are everywhere. At the box office, these films make serious money. Adjusted for inflation, Thunderball is still one of the highest-grossing Bond films ever, out-earning many modern blockbusters, as seen later in the adjusted segment. And then Skyfall came in and smashed records, crossing the billion-dollar mark and proving Bond was still a cinematic powerhouse. Even some of the less beloved entries have managed to pull in impressive numbers, showing just how strong the fan base really is. It doesn't matter how many reboots, recastings, or changing trends come along, there's always an audience ready to watch 007 take down the next supervillain. Part of what keeps Bond fresh is the revolving door of actors. Each Bond brings something different, keeping the franchise alive for new generations. Sean Connery, the original, the blueprint. His Bond was smooth, confident, and effortlessly cool. The producers originally considered Cary Grant, but he only wanted to commit to one film. So they took a chance on Connery, a relatively unknown Scottish actor. And the rest is history. He set the standard for everything that followed, the way he carried himself, the way he delivered a line, even the way he threw a punch. Bond wasn't just a spy anymore, he was a symbol of effortless style and danger rolled into one. George Lazenby, the Bond that could have been. He only played the role once in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but fun fact, he wasn't even an actor. He was a model who bluffed his way into an audition. The producers loved him, but after one film, he walked away, convinced by his agent that Bond was becoming outdated. Whoops. Ironically, his movie has aged better than many others, with some fans now calling it one of the best in the series. Roger Moore, the longest-serving 007, starred in 7 films and brought the most humor to the role. Sure, his movies got a little over the top. Moonraker, anyone? But that lighter approach kept the franchise alive. Moore understood something vital about Bond. He didn't always need to be brooding or serious. Sometimes a well-timed quip and a perfectly tailored suit were just as important as a Walther PPK. Timothy Dalton, the dark and serious Bond before it was cool. Dalton's 2 outings were grittier, more realistic takes on the character. But audiences weren't quite ready for a no-nonsense Bond in the 80s. Looking back now, his version was ahead of its time. He brought a sharper edge, a sense of danger that hadn't been seen before. If his movies had come out in the post-Bourne era, they probably would have been massive hits. Pierce Brosnan, the perfect mix of old-school suave and modern action hero. Brosnan was Bond for a whole generation. GoldenEye revived the franchise, but by Die Another Day, the series had gone full sci-fi, with invisible cars and ice palaces. Still, his era gave us some of the best action sequences in the series, proving Bond could hold his own in a world that was getting more and more over the top. Daniel Craig, the reboot Bond. Craig's Bond was brutal, emotional, and stripped of the old-school camp. Casino Royale in 2006 didn't just modernize Bond, it made him human. His run ended with No Time to Die, making Craig the first Bond actor to get an official character conclusion. His take on the role gave 007 a depth that hadn't really been explored before, adding layers to a character that had, for decades, been seen as untouchable. And now, the question is, who's next? Tom Hardy? Henry Cavill? Maybe someone completely unexpected? A female Bond. It's not the first time the franchise has considered an outside-the-box choice. Plenty of actors turned down the role for one reason or another. Clint Eastwood was offered Diamonds Are Forever, but he refused, saying Bond should always be British. Adam West? Yep, Batman himself was considered but felt the same way. Burt Reynolds thought the same, even though Hollywood was ready to make it happen. And then there's Michael Gambon, yes, Dumbledore, who was approached, but said he wasn't attractive enough for the role. Liam Neeson was seriously considered for GoldenEye, but he walked away from the opportunity, not because he wasn't a fan of Bond, but because at the time he wasn't looking to become an action star. Or at least, that's what he said. In reality, the real deal breaker wasn't the franchise, it was love. His girlfriend, later wife, Natasha Richardson, had one condition for their future together. If he took the role of 007, she wouldn't marry him. So Neeson chose romance over espionage. That's some high-stakes romance right there. And then there's Christian Bale, who not only declined the role but had some strong words about Bond, calling him a walking stereotype of everything he disliked about British actors. Not all Bond films are created equal. Two of them weren't even produced by Eon Productions, the company behind the official franchise. Never Say Never Again was Sean Connery's return to Bond in 1983. But here's the catch. It wasn't an official Bond movie. It was basically a legal loophole that let them remake Thunderball. Connery only did it to prove he could still play Bond in his 50s. And honestly, he pulled it off. And then there's Casino Royale from 1967. No, not the one with Daniel Craig, the other one. This one's a trip. It was a comedy with multiple Bonds starring David Niven, Peter Sellers, and Woody Allen. If you've never seen it, just imagine Austin Powers with an even bigger budget. So here we are. Amazon now owns Bond's creative future. That has fans worried. Will Bond become a content machine churning out spin-offs and unnecessary prequels? Will we get a Bond cinematic universe where Moneypenny gets her own series? Hard to say, but one thing's for sure, Bond has survived changing times before. From Cold War espionage to high-tech action thrillers, the franchise adapts. It's lasted this long for a reason. And as long as there's a tuxedo, an Aston Martin, and a mission too impossible for anyone else, James Bond will return.